Well, the draft law aims to give authorities the power to regulate EV charging in Singapore for a more reliable and accessible network. It also wants to make EV chargers compulsory for all new buildings. Marcus Tan tells us more.
These EV chargers may soon need to meet mandatory standards. They must also be registered and inspected regularly. That's under a draft law to regulate EV charging to make it safer and more reliable. Operators must also be licensed with the Land Transport Authority, including those for battery swapping services and mobile chargers. At least one says the move levels the playing field.
We think it'll go a long way to establishing a certain level of standards for EV charging operators like ourselves to adhere to maintain a certain standard when it comes to safety and reliability. And I think that augurs well for the industry because if we don't have a bill as what we're seeing today, sometimes the process to get the EV chargers approved and implemented becomes a long-drawn process, and we don't want that to happen.
Also proposed, new buildings must include working EV parking spaces and provide each with a minimum amount of power. This applies also to existing buildings that expand their floor space by more than half or conduct major works that increase the approved electrical load. It comes as authorities are aiming to deploy 60,000 charging points by 2030. But one developer says there still could be some issues.
If the requirement comes in the middle and if it's not planned for, then it will be a big challenge for the contractors and developers. Of course, the other thing is concerned is also the infrastructure in place, whether power that is available for the area is sufficient to implement all these sort of extra requirements. The complication may come whereby when the MCSC takes over, whether they have to work with this particular operator, it's a false marriage, so to speak.
MCSTs are management councils for condominiums and offices. For existing buildings, they will only need 50% of tenants to agree before deciding on whether to install EV chargers.
The year 2021, La Casa also tried to pass the EV charger at La Casa with more than 3 years, which calls for 90% resolution, which was not successful. So in the following year, in this year, 2022 June, we actually managed to pass it at a 75% for less than 3 years for the 50%, which is a good threshold that I think is manageable for at least half of the general body, the house, to decide to have an EV charger.
The country is aiming to get all vehicles to run on cleaner energy by 2040.